for picks, props, and futures for tonight's action. Bettor Sports Betting wants to know what picks you're playing tonight. Tell us in the live chat on YouTube, Twitter, and the Bettor Sports Network app. This is Bettor Sports Betting with Fantasy Alarm's Dan Servodidio.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome in here to the Bettor Sports Betting Show on a Monday afternoon. Got Howard Bender with me. I am Dan Servodidio. And, we got some Bettor Sports Betting to get into with Monday Night Football tonight. Got to recap NFL Week 12 as well. How you doing, Howard?
I'm doing pretty well, Servo. It was a solid betting weekend for me. I was, started off and did pretty well on Thanksgiving. Won more than I lost, and then this past week, I think I went like 5-2-1 on my best bets. The articles that I published, I didn't, the touchdown parlay that I played around with. I'm not really counting that as my. I mean, I do count it as part of my record, but when I'm like looking at like regular bets, I'm not sitting here like trying to fish for these long odds parlays that everybody's like salivating over.
Yeah, that's not like that shouldn't be totally counted into the one loss record if you're just trying to hit some parlay, especially for touchdown scores. Let's get into Week 12. We will get to some Monday Night Football bets and props for tonight's Bears-Vikings game. I'll be handing out some college basketball bets for tonight's slate as well. But let's get into just kind of reviewing how you and John on Friday's show, some of your wins and losses from Friday's show for this Sunday Week 12 slate here. I'll let you dive into it first. You got a lot of green on there, so that's good to see.
Yeah, it went real well for me. Again, my game pick. So the Titans, I said I was fine with them. Covering. I used them in survivor pools also this past weekend,
Nice.
So that worked out beautifully for me. Patriots, Giants. I mean, that was such a no-brainer under. Like the Pittsburgh Cleveland game from the week before. It was just, I mean, there was never any doubt at all that game was going to go over 34. Rams Cardinals, it took them a little while to get it going there, but it hit well for me. When the Cardinals, it was a Kyler Murray touchdown pass to Greg Dortch, which served me up nicely in DFS also. But that was what put the game on the over. Great, brilliant effort by Kyron Williams in his first game out. So super in on that. CJ Stroud threw the ball incessantly against Jacksonville. I mean, it went 36 times, but this 35.5 number was still kind of high. So we just scooch over there. Ramondre Stevenson had over 90 yards on the ground, so that was good. And then Derrick Henry, the anytime touchdown, he actually got into the box twice there. I'll throw the kudos to John and Pemba, who actually said Derrick Henry first touchdown at plus 450. So he was saying, that's why I did that touchdown parlay, because I've done this show with John before, and he goads me into these like bigger stats. He's like, I'm not going to do some touchdown call unless I'm getting like 3-1. I'm like, all right, well, here you go, you savage. Let me parlay it then and do it that way. But whatever, man. It was a solid, it was a good, profitable Thanksgiving, and it turned into a profitable NFL Week 12 as well. So felt very, very good about all of that, man. We missed you on Friday. I hope that the betting lines were kind to you over the weekend as well.
Yeah, I mean, they were okay. In college football, I don't have the record here, but I gave out some picks on Wednesday's show. I think I went 3-1-1 with my college picks. So if you guys hit on some of those, we had some really fun college slate on Saturday. But NFL-wise, I did pretty good on the Thanksgiving slate. I wanted to touch on some of your picks here, though, because I would have, if I was on Friday's show, I definitely would have hammered the Ramondre Stevenson rushing yards with you, because that matchup against the Giants, it seems every week that the leading rushers are going over their rushing yards. They're usually getting in the end zone as well. So great call on that one. With the Rams Cardinals, I feel like with most weeks now, I mean, it was the case earlier, even with Kyler Murray out, but with him in the lineup now, most of their games I feel like are going to be hitting the overs because their defense is still terrible. And Kyler is out there, still trying to prove something that he's not going to get replaced by maybe Caleb Williams or any other quarterback the Cardinals might draft. So great call on that one. And yeah, the Derrick Henry, John went with the first Derrick Henry touchdown. You went with the ending time touchdown. I mean, yeah, he got in the end zone twice. So that was a great call on that one. Looking at John's card here, he nailed the Steelers minus the 2.5 on the road in that game, in that divisional game against the Bengals. Bengals were, playing them tough, even with the backup Jake Browning in there, but the Steelers did get the win there. Jaguars too. He went with the road favorite and got that one over the Texans, and then Falcons the plus 1.5 at home, getting the win there against the Saints. So good calls on his part for those. You can see some of his props he hit. Missed on the Bucks plus 2.5 and the Jets Dolphins under 41 on Friday. That would have been Friday's game. So yeah, some hits and some misses. Your call on the Titans minus 3.5 is that was a good call because I thought the Panthers might keep it close. Who knows? But
Titans tried to give it away. They tried to give it away a number of times in the second half. I was like, can't we just like it made no sense to me at all. Like Vrabel wasn't like they weren't running out the clock with Derrick Henry or Tajay Spears for that matter. Like why? It's been completely unsuccessful. Derrick Henry's looked great today. Like just kill the stupid clock. Run the ball with Derrick Henry against a soft run defense. But instead they would like run it, for like 2 yards on first down and then give it to Will Levis to pass for the next 2 downs. And he wasn't moving the football at all. Like that was, I said that Vrabel would go back to what he knows. And that is, running the football with Derrick Henry. Your offensive line is a little trashy right now. And you've got Tajay Spears who you can mix into it. But get back to the freaking basics for crying out loud and run the football because, just throwing this, like you got such a great first day out of Will Levis that you like, now you're like, Will Levis's 4 touchdown game, right? That was like your crack dealer just coming over to you and just being like, hey, got some new rock here. Just take a taste. It's on me. Don't worry about it. Take a taste. And then what do? Then you sit there and you chase that high over and over again. That's what everybody's doing with Tennessee. You're chasing the Will Levis 4 touchdown high, and you're losing games like hand over fist. So go back to your stupid basics there and run the damn football.
Gotta say, I don't have too much experience with a crack dealer, but I get the analogy there.
Well, listen, I grew up in New York City. I didn't always lead this happy-go-lucky, sunshiny life of that you guys all see before you. I'm not saying that I was a crackhead. I'm just saying that maybe I knew some people.
You knew some people, yeah. And then we get word today, Frank Reich out as head coach of the Panthers, which, quick rant from me, what are they doing? I mean, you have a rookie quarterback, and you just hired Frank Reich before the season too. You got to give him at least a second season to see what he can do with Bryce Young and maybe a little building block next year. But they fire Frank Reich here. I don't understand that. I mean, maybe you have a different opinion on it, but I don't understand how you fire him. I mean, not even at the end of the season. You're firing him now. What's the point? You guys aren't making the playoffs with a coach firing.
Yeah, I didn't really understand it either. The only thing that I know, Servo, is that Panthers plus 5.5 on the road in Tampa Bay. I'm locking that in right now.
Well, so there's 2 ways to go with that. Do you think the team liked Frank Reich and now they're bummed? Or
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because, listen, the guys who love Frank Reich are going to be like, I'm going to win it for Frank. And the guys who didn't love Frank Reich are going to be like, want to show you guys that you made the right call because I'm going to play even better now that Reich is gone. Like that's just that. Those are the 2 schools of thought there. The numbers show it also that teams who fire their coach midway through the season win outright or at least cover the spread in their following game. And that number, I mean, it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of like 57 to 58% of the time now. It used to be at like 65%, but we've seen a couple of firings recently where just the teams are in shambles anyway. I don't feel like the Carolina Panthers are completely in shambles. So should be very interesting to see what happens. But I mean, I'm going to bet it blind, Servo. I don't, regardless of what happens, I already bet it, actually. To be perfectly honest, I sent the message to my guy as soon as I heard that Reich was canceled. I said, give the lines a couple of hours to adjust and see what happens and where it sits. And it's at, Panthers on the road are getting 5.5. So, I mean, I'm already locked into it. If the spread goes up, like if it increases at all, like goes to 6.5, even 7, still in on Carolina. I'm even more so in on Carolina. I'm a little bit more bummed about my plus 5.5, but I'll make up for it with this increasing. If the line increases, if it just stays the same, well, I've locked that in, baby.
Well, yeah, and it's not like Tampa Bay is this trustworthy favorite either. So
right?
I'm with you. Listen, you're right on this with the Raiders earlier this season already with Antonio Pierce, and they got the outright win that next week. So I think there's definitely something to be said about that. But yeah, it's just crazy how they're just already cutting bait on Frank Reich. I don't understand.
I'm sorry. I know you're a big Frank Reich guy. I know you like the guy. You owe him.
He was one of the architects of the Eagles Super Bowl.
I got you. Listen, I like Reich too. I really do. I mean, again, the Panthers don't know what the hell they're doing, right? They let Joe Brady go before they got rid of Matt Rule, and then they were like, "Oh crap, Matt Rule is the problem there." They could have been like Joe Brady living. This past whole entire season, if they didn't, let Matt Rule be an idiot. Like Rule needed a scapegoat.
Speaking of Joe Brady, your Bills +3 pick was a correct one. As an Eagles fan, I am fully admitting that the Bills +3 was the right call there. They obviously, it's a push with the +3, but they probably should have won that game outright multiple times too, including overtime. But that was the right side through that game. Even though the Eagles ended up getting the 3-point win. If you got, I know it was like at 3.5 earlier in the week. So whatever you got it at, but the +3, I think was the right side. I mean, they were playing for their, basically playoff lives in that game and looked like the better team for at least the first half and most of the game overall. But the Eagles squeak it out.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest, I kind of got pissed off at myself. I mean, not really at myself, but I was looking at it and I was like, it's -110 at Bills +3. It's, it was like -135 or 138. If I got that extra half a point, and I was like, screw it. I'll just, if I settle on the push, I'll settle on the push. So, I mean, that wouldn't have even mattered, right? The Eagles score. Oh, it did because there was no extra point at the end of that touchdown.
It did matter. Yep.
Yeah. I needed that extra half point there. So, that might be a little foreshadowing for when we talk a little Monday Night Football, Servo. I don't know, maybe, just maybe.
Okay. Well, let's get right into that. And if you have, we see Ryan in the chat here saying what's up. Well, hey Ryan, how you doing? Appreciate you chiming in here on the YouTube chat. And if you guys have your own picks for this game, Monday Night Football, or any reactions you have to Week 12, definitely throw them in the chat here. We'll see what you guys have going tonight with your bets and your props. Let's get to Monday Night Football here. Bears-Vikings. We got Minnesota -3 at home on the spread. 43.5 is the over-under right now. By the way, if you want tonight, as we do with this BetterCast, go check out the Monday Night Football BetterCast on the BetterCast app for Bears-Vikings tonight. Compete in our free contest, answering pregame questions about Bears-Vikings, test your NFL knowledge, predict what's going to happen in real time during the game. No purchase or subscription necessary. It's always free to play. You can win tickets with the more questions you get right and redeem those for NFL signed gear and collectibles. So download the free BetterCast app, scan that QR code right on the screen, Apple app or Google Play stores. You must be at least 18 years old. All right, Bears-Vikings. Michael Petrella on the YouTube chat here saying he loves the BetterCast. Won last night. Awesome. Good job,
Nice.
Michael, with Sunday Night Football BetterCast. And then also Michael saying before we give out our picks, he likes the over on Addison and Moore, assuming receiving yards, and then with a Hawkinson anytime touchdown in there as well. So we'll see if we agree on some of these coming up. But overall, this game, Howard, you have your best bets article up on Fantasy Alarm, so everyone could check that out. But what's your overall, inklings and view of this game?
All right. I mean, so great history between these two teams, and if you look at like all the data, against the spread, things like that, I mean, it definitely favors Minnesota. They're 7-3-1. I got some notes here. They're 7-3-1 against the spread. The Bears are like 4-6-1 against the spread. And then if you look at like some of the numbers over here, where do I got it? I want to make sure that I give like the right data here, right?
Yeah.
Now I got to like hold it from like 8 miles away because I'm an old fart. Vikes are 7-3-1 against the spread. With Dobbs under center, they're 3-0 against the spread. Ooh. At home this season, they're only 2-3 against the spread. Bears are 4-6-1. With Fields under center, they're 2-4-1 against the spread. On the road, they're 3-3 against the spread. And on the road with Justin Fields, they're 2-2 against the spread. So you look at it all right there, and yeah, you look at all of that, and you're like, okay, so it's kind of tilting towards Minnesota. But here you go, man. How about this little bit of information for you, sir?
I love this one, yeah.
Favorites have covered. Oh, yeah, look at that. There you go. The more you know. Favorites have covered in 12 of 15 games this week, tying a record for the most in a single week in the Super Bowl era, week 12 of the 2017 season. So if Minnesota covers tonight, we've got a new record. I'll tell you what, when I hear something like that and I hear new record, and I know that everybody's loving the Minnesota Vikings right now and rocket scientist Josh Dobbs, and the Bears are, I mean, they're okay. Fields is back, but I mean, his weaponry aside from DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, is always a little kind of a suspect. You also have to, you look at their defense and they're like, yeah, great against the run, but pretty bad against the pass. And you've got, Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and, all of those guys there. Did you know, by the way, about the preseason workouts that Josh Dobbs and TJ Hawkinson are like friends who work out together? They're both from Nashville. So they had already played with each other before this season even started. So something to think about there with that Hawk Anytime TD from Michael in the chat. I love that. So with all of that, Servo, and given what happened to me in Bills against the Eagles, I'm going to pay the extra juice. All right, I'm going to go minus 135 on BetMGM, and I'm going to take the Bears plus 3.5. That's where I'm going. I also taken the under because, I mean, the over is due. Yeah, of course it is, but it's 12-1. The under is 12-1 on Monday Night Football, right? And here you go. The under in primetime games, 26-9. All right, in the last 35 primetime games, 17 of 20 of the last games have all been on the under. So, the under is actually 8-3 in Vikings games this year. It's 4-7 in Bears games. But so I'm paying the extra juice. It's 3.5. Ryan Volt says Bears are winning this game. I hope that's the case here, my friend, because you know what? I've got the Bears. I'm getting the points. I actually thought about the fact that of just buying it down, same juice, minus 135, and just do Vikings minus 2.5 instead of the 3. But then I was like, is it so far-fetched to see the Chicago Bears actually win this game? Probably not. So let me err on the side of caution here. Boom. Bears plus 3.5. Take the under. Boom.
Yeah, listen, I'm not making a exact game pick on this, but if I was, it'd be on the Bears getting the 3 points and the 3.5 if you want to do that, like you were saying, because I don't think it's basically Vegas is telling us, all right, this is basically like a pick 'em because it's like giving 3 points to the Vikings because they're the home team here, but we just saw Justin Fields play really well last week against the Lions, and they should have won that game. They did not. They kind of blew it, but they should have won that game. It was on the road at Detroit. And I think, the way Fields is playing, I said this last week, he is playing because the Bears they're getting the pick from the Panthers, right? And they have their own top 5 pick right now. The way Fields is playing and has to play the rest of the year, he's basically playing for his starting job, in my opinion, because if he doesn't play well this end of the season, I think the Bears could easily go and draft, a Caleb Williams or one of these other top quarterbacks coming out to give Fields, if they're not sold on Fields, I think he's going to be really looking to prove something in this later part of the season. And I think it could result in a couple of, upset wins that probably should have happened last week. I could see it happening tonight against the Vikings, who, listen, I'm not totally sold on Dobbs yet. I know he keeps pulling these things out, but, I need to see it on a more consistent basis. They lost last week against Denver. It was a close loss, but still.
And they covered the spread.
They covered the spread, yeah. I would lean – I know all the trends here are pointing to the under. I would lean over here. Yeah, I see Rance here. DJ Special kind of lean over. I would lean over because I'm looking back at Justin Fields when he's been the quarterback for the Bears this season. His games when he's been the quarterback are, I think, 5-1 or 6-1 to the over when he's been at quarterback for the Bears this year.
Yeah, but he's not the one doing the scoring. Look at the scores in those game logs. It's the other team because you're talking about.
No, well, some of them.
Look at the first 3 games of the season.
No, yeah, the Bears defense is terrible. Yeah,
so that's 3 overs right there. The Bears looked absolutely ridiculous. They looked completely lost, and the other team was scoring all the points.
But his last 3 full games, because he got hurt last time he played Minnesota, only played half the game. His last 3 full games, 26 points last week against the Lions. Before that, 40 against Commanders and 28 against Denver. His offenses had been putting up points and yards with him under center, and he's looking a lot more. Last week he ran for 100 plus, looking a lot more comfortable, I think, in that running dual threat mold that we saw all of last year. I like him now that he's back from this injury, and it was a hand injury, so it's not like it affected his legs at all. I kind of lean over here, even though the trends do not point that way.
All right.
We got Ryan in the chat here saying,
you want to throw a little action on that with your good old buddy partner here, huh?
No, because I'm not putting it up as like one of my picks here. I'm telling you what I lean towards, okay? For people out there, thinking, trying to give differing opinions here. Ryan in the chat here saying Fields is running for over 100 tonight. And this is a prop that me and you are both on tonight. His over on his rushing yards. I'll let you go first of why, because I love the over on his rushing yards tonight.
I do too. It's not, but you've got a good pass rush with Minnesota, right? What do they have, like 28 sacks or something like that on the season? It's middle of the road, but they still have a good solid pass rush there. Could chase him out, but that's what he wants to do anyway. He wants to run. So 52.5. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to say he's running for over 100 yards because I'm not a Bears fan who's, all skitzed out here thinking that he's going to rush for 100 yards every single game. But over 52.5, I'm in on that.
Yeah, I'm on it because, last week we saw the Bears give him a lot more designed runs, let him run 18 carries for 104 yards. I know he's not going to be running for 100 every game, but you look back through his games this year, he's been at over at least 46 yards in 5 of 7. So he's been right in this range basically. And, getting the over on the 52.5 would basically be like one more scramble or one more run to get that over in some of these games. And I think he's going to be right in that 60 to 70 rushing yards range tonight if you want to look at maybe some alt lines. But I'm on the over 52.5 too on BetMGM. He played the Vikings in that game. He got hurt more than a month ago, back in October. Had 46 in that game on 8 carries. Again, only played about didn't even get through the whole game though. But that's 1 or 2 more carries, and he's going over that. So give me the over on this. He's looking to, as I mentioned, he's looking to make plays with his legs because that is one of his skill sets. I mean, he's one of the elite running quarterbacks in the league, and I think this is when things break down, but also the Bears are letting him get these designed runs. So, give me the over on his rushing yards.
I would just say be careful with the alt lines for that. I mean, just don't go crazy about it. The Vikings are only they've only allowed 207 rushing yards to opposing quarterbacks on the season. And that's like middle of the pack, right? It's like middle towards like the lower end of things. I mean, there are teams that have given up significantly more yardage there. So I would just kind of, you can't say, oh, he carried it 8 times for 48 yards and he played half the game. So, double that. It's just not what you're going to do. So I would just be careful with the alt lines on his rushing yards. But I still like the over 52.5. Take that.
All right, what else do you like from a props standpoint for this game?
All right. I mean, to stay with the Bears here, Darnell Mooney, I'm going to say over 2.5 receptions. It's a plus 116. I got it over there at Caesars. It was like plus 105 over at BetMGM. And listen, I look at like coverage numbers here for the Minnesota Vikings. They do struggle a little bit against secondary wide receivers. They've been pretty good against number 1 guys. So it'll not be a nice battle for DJ Moore. I'm not saying that DJ Moore is going to falter or anything, but I do think that in order to be successful tonight, Justin Fields needs to throw to more than just DJ Moore and Cole Kmet. And so, I look at the snap counts. I look at the opportunities that Darnell Mooney's had. First 4 games of the season, while they were trying to like work through things, there were 2 games where he had 4 catches in each one. So, I don't think 3 catches for Darnell Mooney is really that far out of the question against a team that ranks like 26th in DVOA against opposing wide receiver 2. So over 2.5 receptions there for him, plus 116, Servo.
All right. And Ryan on the chat here said he's not a Bears fan. He hates both these teams. So no bias for him saying that he's going to run for 100.
All right. Do you have him on your fantasy team?
Maybe. I'm going to go to the Viking side of things here. Ty Chandler over 32.5 rushing yards. They're starting to get him more involved. It's basically almost a split between carries and snaps between him and Alex Madison in this backfield. And Chandler has been mostly more efficient. 15 and 10 carries in these past 2 games, 45 and 73 rushing yards with this bigger workload when he was basically barely playing before these past couple games. But with Josh Dobbs in there, the Vikings are clearly trying to establish the run more, take the pressure off Dobbs with now that, Kirk Cousins isn't under center there. They want to, take some pressure off Dobbs with this run game. And Chandler's clearly a part of it because he's getting double-digit carries now. And it's not out of the question for him to maybe eventually, maybe it happens this week, maybe it's next week, but start to get more carries and more snaps than Madison because he's been more efficient. And we've seen these unproven, young running backs, rookie running backs that I feel like the Vikings want to see what they got in Chandler because they know what they have in Madison. He's been there for years, but Chandler is an explosive guy when he gets the ball. So, I like his over on his rushing yards. The Bears defense, rush defense, statistically now, the Eagles were number 1, but it's now the Bears allowing the fewest rushing yards per game this year and the fewest yards per carry this season, which gives me a little pause. But I do think if Chandler gets his double-digit carries, he should go over this rushing yards prop.
Listen, man, I could definitely dig that because I'm going Alexander Madison under 57.5 rushing plus receiving yards. I mean, there's a little juice on it at minus 131. Maybe you want to like parlay it with some of these other picks. Then, if you're so inclined, maybe parlay it with the Ty Chandler over 32.5 rushing yards. I just, I'm not a Madison guy. I don't like the blocking scheme for him. They get him every once in a while involved in some pass catching, which can be done successfully over against the Bears, but I don't know, man. I'm not a Madison guy at all. So under 57.5 rushing plus receiving yards for him. And that plays into if Ty Chandler can hit the over on his rushing yards, maybe that's fewer touches from Madison. So
I'm all for that.
I can dig that. I got one more here, and it's TJ Hawkinson. Again, I like the anytime touchdown call on Michael's parlay that he wanted to run out there. I'm going to say TJ Hawkinson over 62.5 receiving yards. I think I've seen it at 64.5 in some places. I saw it at 65.5 in another book. So I like getting it at the 62.5 here. And like I said, this was news to me when I learned that Josh Dobbs and TJ Hawkinson were both working out together throughout all the pre-camp stuff in Nashville. So found news here. Hawkinson's going to get just a boatload of targets, I think, in this matchup here. Bears struggle, against the tight end. They struggle in pass defense in any event. So, give me Hawk here on the over. I'll like it into that.
Yeah, listen, I mean, with Dobbs too, he at Arizona, we saw, Trey McBride start to get, more involved. It was like Dobbs kind of leaning on his tight end more often. And I think he's doing the same thing now in Minnesota. Last week, Hawkinson led the team in targets and yards. With Jefferson still out, and I guess there's a chance he could play tonight, right? But I doubt he's doubtful. I mean, I don't think he's going to play, but
he's not playing tonight. The Vikings have a bye next week. Why push Jefferson tonight when you can, rest him again for another week, and you have the bye week, and then you have 2 weeks to prepare with Jefferson and Dobbs together? That's where you want to be.
Yeah, I agree. So that just helps out Hawkinson even more. All right, so those are some picks for tonight's Bears-Vikings game. Good luck with all of your own bets and picks. And by the way, I mentioned Howard's got his best bets article up on Fantasy Alarm. We also got the NFL DFS Showdown playbook for tonight's Monday Night Football up on Fantasy Alarm. You can get both those and all the other content we got up with the Fantasy Alarm All-Pro subscription, as we're always promoting here. Got a college basketball DFS playbook up for tonight's slate as well. We're doing NBA, NHL, of course, every single day at Fantasy Alarms. You get all this with the All-Pro subscription. Scan that QR code.
This code, by the way, this is a Cyber Monday deal. Like, this goes away after tomorrow. Welcome to Cyber Monday. Take the $100 off the annual, and it's like less than $16 a month for the Fantasy Alarm for the full year. So Cyber Monday, baby, we're getting a killer deal here. So yeah.
Yeah, you get access to the Discord chat as well. And on that note, I see people chiming in here about some of their fantasy matchups. We're sticking to betting here, but if you got these fantasy questions, you get in the Discord and you can have those questions answered over there. All right, how about I'm going to wrap up today with some college basketball because I am glued into college basketball. We got some awesome non-conference games coming up later this week, but tonight it's a smaller slate, and I just got 2 picks for the people out there. One is Eastern Washington plus 12.5 against Washington State tonight. Eastern Washington is one of those. So they had a really tough early season schedule. A lot of times we see some of these mid-major teams play easier opponents early on, try to get their feet wet. Eastern Washington went right into a really tough schedule. They played Utah, Ole Miss, Cincinnati, Stanford in their first 4 games, all on the road. So they are very battle-tested coming into this game against Washington State. in those first 4, by the way, they covered as double-digit underdogs twice, and played each of them, fairly tough, considering that they were just going right into these tough road matchups against some of the top upper echelon power conference matchups. So they're going to be ready here for Washington State. Washington State's still a team to me that's trying to figure out its pecking order. They lost 3 of their top players from last year's team, including their top 2 scorers and playmakers, TJ Bamba and Muhammad Guy, who were really part of their scoring and rotation last year. They're still trying to figure things out, in my opinion. And this is one of those in-state rivalry games where Eastern Washington is going to come in and play it tough. They've played each other, these 2 schools, each of the last 4 years. Eastern Washington has covered in 3 of these 4 matchups, going back, including last year. So they're going to play this tough. They're not going to be, scared of the matchup because they've already faced teams that were better than Washington State and on the same par as Washington State. So yeah, give me the underdogs here, Eastern Washington plus the 12.5. And then the last one I'll throw out here, Oakland plus 15.5 against Xavier. Another, mid-major team on the road against the power conference opponent, but Oakland 6-0 against the spread this year, and they're 5-0 against the spread as underdogs. Early in the year, they start out their season against on the road against Illinois and Ohio State, covered as double-digit underdogs in both those games. And I think they're going to do it again here on the road against Xavier, who is a lower power-rated team than both Illinois and Ohio State. So I've seen Oakland do it and cover spreads against better teams than Xavier, who's still a really good team, still a dangerous team, but Oakland, I think, is going to be up for it tonight. And the thing I really love, especially about Oakland, is that they have 2 guys. Their top 2 guys are ones that won't back down from this spot, because Rocket Watts is their 5th-year senior point guard. He's played at Michigan State. He's played at Mississippi State. Brings in plenty of experience against power conference teams. Is kind of on he could easily play at a Xavier or at another power conference team if he wanted, but he's got plenty of talent there. And Trey Townsend is their versatile wing scorer who also could probably be playing in another power conference team, but chose to stay at Oakland and didn't transfer away. But he's one of the better players in the Horizon League. And the other big thing here, though, that kind of pushed me towards Xavier or towards Oakland is that Xavier has a really big matchup later this week against Houston. It's their tough non-con home matchup for them. And I think this is kind of a look ahead where they're, getting ready for Houston. Maybe want to try out some different things, because they're also a team similar to Washington State. They lost their top 6 players from last year's team, and their team made up of a bunch of transfers and a couple guys from last year that were backups that I still think is trying to figure things out for who their alpha scorers are and all that. So yeah, I think this is a good spot to back Oakland as the underdogs on the road.
Right on, baby. I love the West Coast love there, Servo. I love the West Coast love.
This is actually not West Coast. This is Oakland, Michigan, outside of Detroit.
I was talking about the Washington State game.
Okay. That is West Coast. I'll give you that. That's funny. Michael Petrella in the chat here is asking, what was the Cyber Monday deal again? Well,
pop that up here. So,
the QR code there again.
Everything. Yeah, let me do it, sir. I pitch this better than you do. Come on. All right. So it's everything over at fantasyalarm.com. Everything. Season long, DFS, betting content. Full access to our Discord, which means that you can hit up like me and Servo in private chats over there and find out, you got, all your questions there. The normal price monthly comes out to, it's like $40 a month for the subscription. If you get this now, you're paying $187, right, for the annual subscription. All right. And you break that up over time, and it breaks it down to less than $16 a month. It's everything over there at Fantasy Alarm, including draft guides, cheat sheets, all sports, you name it. We got it. You want that deal. Again, yeah, right there. Scan the QR code. You could also just go to fantasyalarm.com/Cyber Monday and use the promo code HURRY. I don't know why we choose an idiot promo code like HURRY, but that's the stupid promo code to use. It should autofill at fantasyalarm.com/Cyber Monday, but on the off chance that it doesn't, HURRY is the promo code. There you go. That's my pitch, Servo.
I could not have done a better elevator pitch.
I know you couldn't have. That's why I took over. That's why I took the reins from you, man.
Thank you. Coming up after us, we got the NBA DFS live show. John and Pemba and Andrew Cooper on that show today, giving some NBA DFS picks out. 5 p.m. Eastern, Bettor Sports Network and Fantasy Alarm YouTubes. Tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, we get the Dynasty Nerds with Garrett Price. Dynasty Nerds Monday Night Rants with Edward Rouse, I think, is tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Sorry about that. And then Bettorcast for Bears-Vikings, 8:15 p.m. Eastern kickoff. We gave out our picks and our bets already tonight, so hopefully some of those cash. We'll be back tomorrow's show to see how things shook out. I know me and Howard will be back on Wednesday's show to give out some early leans for NFL Week 13. So get in on that. But we'll catch you guys tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern, here on Bettor Sports Betting. Thanks for everyone tuning in today, and we'll catch you guys later.
Bettor Sports Betting on the Bettor Sports Network.